Welcome to BD Politics Explainer. I want you to try a quick mental exercise with me. Imagine you're in a cafe in Mumbai, maybe a tech park in Bangalore. You open your laptop, you fire up ChatGPT, and you ask it to, I don't know, debug some Python code.
Or draft a marketing email, something simple.
Right. And it takes, what, 5 seconds? It feels instantaneous. It feels ethereal, almost like magic.
It does.
But there is a very specific, and I'd say very influential group of people in Washington, D.C. who look at that exact same interaction and see something completely different.
They don't see magic at all.
No, they see theft.
And it's important to clarify, they don't mean intellectual property theft, which is, usually where this kind of conversation goes.
Not at all.
They're talking about a theft of physical American resources. It's a fascinating and, frankly, a much grittier argument than we're used to hearing in the tech space.
Exactly. So today we're digging into a report from the AnandaBazaar.com desk that outlines a startling new critique from Peter Navarro.
Navarro.
Now, if you've been following U.S. politics for, say, the last decade, you know the name. He isn't a backbencher. He's a former White House trade advisor, a hardcore economic nationalist, and a very close associate of Donald Trump.
He's a major voice in that world.
And he has effectively opened a new front in the trade war. Only this time, the battlefield isn't steel or aluminum, it's the American power grid.
It's such a pivot. It really marks a significant shift in geopolitical rhetoric. We are literally moving from debating tariffs on goods to debating the sovereignty of electrons.
So here's the mission for this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We need to unpack the logic, or maybe the grievance, behind Navarro's claim that American citizens are essentially subsidizing India's AI boom.
Right.
We're going to look at the technical reality of what he's saying, because there is actually some physics involved here.
There is.
Then we need to zoom out and look at Navarro's history with India, because this isn't just a one-off comment. He has a pattern of using some very specific, very loaded language for the region.
A very clear pattern.
And finally, we'll look at the ground reality in South Asia. Because while Washington argues about digital clouds, through a report from Ananda Bazaar reminds us that the actual situation on the ground can be incredibly volatile.
It's a collision of high-level trade strategy and the messy reality of international relations.
Okay, so let's start with the accusation itself. This didn't come from a policy paper or a press briefing. Where did this come from?
It came from a conversation between Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon.
Okay, so the setting matters.
No, the setting matters a lot. Steve Bannon, the former White House chief strategist, he hosts a platform that is really an echo chamber for the America First movement.
He's not trying to win over new converts there.
Not at all. When Navarro goes on Bannon's show, he isn't trying to convince Democrats or moderates. He's speaking directly to the base, and he's refining the arguments that, often end up becoming actual policy proposals in a Trump orbit.
So, in this interview, Navarro drops this bombshell theory about ChatGPT in India. Walk us through the argument, because on the surface it sounds, well, a bit absurd. The internet is global, right?
Yeah.
How do you claim national ownership over a chatbot's answer?
Well, what Navarro does is he strips away the marketing veneer of the cloud.
Right, this idea that it's just this nebulous floating thing.
Exactly. We think of it as existing everywhere and nowhere. Navarro is reminding his audience that the cloud is actually just a building. It's a building in Northern Virginia packed with servers.
Okay.
So his argument is built on 3 basic steps. First, ChatGPT operates from American soil. The physical hardware, the NVIDIA chips, the data centers, they are largely located in the U.S.
Okay, physically the brain is here. That's undeniable.
Step 2, those servers don't run on magic. They run on massive, and I mean massive amounts of electricity.
And step 3?
Step 3 is that when a user in India queries that system, the computational work, all the heavy lifting happens here. It's burning American coal or gas or nuclear power, but the economic benefit of that answer is exported instantly to India.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Please.
Because I can hear our listeners asking this already. Doesn't OpenAI or Microsoft pay for that electricity?
Yes, of course.
And doesn't the user in India, if they have a subscription, pay for the service? It sounds like a standard business transaction. Why does Navarro think American citizens are spending money on this?
And that is the crucial distinction. You're thinking like a capitalist. Navarro is thinking like a nationalist.
Okay.
To you, electricity is a commodity you buy from a utility company. To Navarro, electricity is a finite national resource like water in a drought.
I see.
He argues that the U.S. power grid is already strained. So if you have these massive data centers gulping down gigawatts of power to answer questions for the rest of the world, that drives up demand.
And when demand goes up,
Prices go up for everyone, including the grandmother in Arizona trying to run her AC or the factory in Ohio trying to make steel.
so he's arguing that the externalities, the strain on the grid, the potential for brownouts, the rising utility rates, that's all being socialized onto the American public.
Precisely. While the productivity gains are being privatized by the tech companies and then exported to India, he's quoted in the source material asking bluntly, India will use AI, and for that, why should American citizens spend money?
Quite a line.
He views it as a form of unauthorized foreign aid. He explicitly states, ChatGPT is working from American soil, it is using American electricity, and it is providing services to India, China, and the rest of the world.
And it is interesting that he lumps India and China together there, given they're usually treated very differently in U.S. foreign policy.
It is.
But let's stick to the technical side for a moment. Is he right about the scale? Is a ChatGPT query really that energy intensive?
This is where the argument actually has some technical merit, even if you disagree with the politics of it. We aren't talking about a simple Google search. A standard Google search is just retrieving an index. It's very, very cheap, energetically speaking. Generative AI is something called inference compute. The chip has to think.
It's not just finding something, it's creating something.
Exactly. It has to calculate probabilities for every single token it generates. Some estimates suggest a ChatGPT query uses 10 to 20 times the electricity of a standard search.
Wow. 10 to 20 times.
And when you scale that to millions of users in India, which is one of the biggest markets for AI adoption, you are talking about a significant load.
Wow, real load on the grid.
A very real load. Data centers in places like Data Center Alley in Loudoun County, Virginia, are already consuming as much power as entire small nations. Navarro is looking at that and saying, why are we burning our grid out to help foreign economies become more efficient?
So it frames the internet not as a library, but as a factory.
That's a perfect analogy.
And he's saying the factory is polluting our backyard to make goods for someone else.
Yes. He's treating electrons like soybeans or oil. If you export oil, you tax it or you sell it at a premium. He's suggesting we are currently giving away the energy component of AI for free.
But this focus on India seems so specific. I mean, Europe uses ChatGPT, South America uses it, yet the Ananda Bazar report highlights that Navarro is specifically targeting India in this conversation. Is that just because of the population size, or is there a history here?
Oh, there is absolutely a history. And this is where we have to look at the pattern recognition part of our deep dive. This isn't just an isolated comment about energy. Navarro has a long, long track record of antagonizing New Delhi.
Right. The source material mentions a nickname he came up with. The Maharaja of Tariffs.
Yes, the Maharaja of Tariffs. He used that line repeatedly during the previous Trump administration.
This is a very colorful phrase, but unpack it for us. What is he actually signaling when he uses a term like Maharaja?
It's a very deliberate rhetorical choice. By using the word Maharaja, he's invoking this imagery of immense old world wealth and, arbitrary power.
He's pushing back on a certain narrative.
He's pushing back against the idea that India is a poor developing nation that needs special treatment or trade waivers. He's arguing that India is actually a wealthy protectionist player that uses high tariffs, some of the highest in the world historically, to keep American goods out while demanding access to American markets.
So it's a way of stripping India of its underdog status in the World Trade Organization context.
Exactly. It frames the relationship as exploitative. He's saying, they act like Maharajas with their own markets, locking us out, but then they come to us for free security and now free electricity.
And the source mentions another comment that feels even more aggressive. This moves beyond just trade and into actual war. He apparently blamed the Indian Prime Minister for the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
He did. He referred to the conflict as Modi's war.
Modi's war. That is a staggering accusation. Not Putin's war, but Modi's war.
It's hyperbole, of course, but it serves a strategic purpose for him. Navarro was criticizing India's neutrality, their refusal to join Western sanctions, and their continued purchase of Russian oil.
Right.
By labeling it Modi's war, he's implying that India's financial support is what kept the Russian war machine running. It's an attempt to cast India not as a neutral bystander, but as an active accomplice.
So if we connect the dots here between the Maharaja of tariffs, Modi's war, and now this new electricity thief narrative, a very clear picture emerges.
It really does.
In Navarro's view, India is a bad faith actor.
That is the core takeaway. He sees a pattern where India leverages U.S. systems, whether that's the open trade market, the geopolitical security order, or now the digital infrastructure, for its own gain without giving anything back.
Yeah.
The electricity argument is just the newest coat of paint on a very old worldview.
So what happens next? I mean, is this just two guys complaining on a podcast, or are there actual policy implications here? The report from Ananda Bazar hints at something they call a new fatwa.
The source uses the term fatwa, metaphorically, to describe a potential decree or a strict ban.
A new rule.
A new rule, exactly. The speculation is that a future Trump administration, influenced by advisors like Navarro, could actually move to regulate this.
What would that even look like? A digital export tax?
It sounds like sci-fi, but it's possible. You could imagine a regulation that says U.S. cloud providers must charge a surcharge for IP addresses originating outside the U.S. to cover the grid burden.
Wow.
Or, in a more extreme scenario, an outright ban on providing high compute services to countries that have large trade deficits with the U.S.
That would fundamentally break the internet as we know it. We're used to a borderless web. This would balkanize it based on voltage.
It would turn the global village into a gated community where you have to pay a utility toll just to get in. And it raises this massive question for the future. If data is the new oil, is electricity the new shipping lane? And can the U.S. just close that lane whenever it wants?
It's a terrifying thought for the global tech economy. But I want to pivot for a moment. We've been talking about this very high-level, almost abstract game of 4D chess trade tariffs, AI compute, geopolitics.
Right.
But the source material for today's deep dive included something else. It was a sidebar, a read more section that felt like a splash of cold water.
It really was. In the middle of this analysis about artificial intelligence and Washington strategy, the report included a very grim update from Bangladesh.
It details the murder of a hotel owner who was killed with a shovel during a dispute.
It's jarring, isn't it? But I think it's important that we don't just skip over it. We can get so wrapped up in these ivory tower debates about digital sovereignty and the ethics of AI energy consumption.
And lose sight of the ground truth.
Exactly. For the actual region we are discussing, South Asia, the reality on the ground often revolves around much more immediate physical dangers.
It creates this incredibly stark contrast. On one side, you have Peter Navarro complaining that India is stealing American electrons to power advanced AI.
And on the other, you have a region grappling with basic rule of law, political instability, and just visceral violence. It grounds the conversation. It reminds us that while the U.S. is worried about the future of warfare, cyber war, economic warfare, many parts of the world are still dealing with the most ancient forms of conflict.
It puts the luxury of the AI debate into perspective.
It does. The Ananda Bazar report, by including both, really paints a complete picture of the landscape. It's a region of high-tech ambition and deep-seated instability.
So bringing it all back together, we've gone from a simple ChatGPT prompt to a debate about the U.S. national power grid.
Navigated through the history of trade insults.
And touched on the harsh reality of regional violence. What's the synthesis here?
The synthesis is that the era of the open internet is ending, at least in the eyes of economic nationalists. For decades, the U.S. encouraged the world to get online. Now, figures like Navarro are looking at the energy bill, and saying, wait a minute, we didn't agree to pay for this.
It's a transition from don't be evil to don't touch my thermostat.
That's a great way to put it. And for you, the listener, whether you are in tech or finance or just someone who uses these tools, this matters. We are entering a period where compute is going to be treated like a strategic mineral. We might see a future where access to the best AI models isn't just about paying a subscription fee to OpenAI. It's about whether your country is on the whitelist to access American energy reserves.
It leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to mull over. We always ask, what can AI do? But maybe the question we need to start asking is, where does the energy for AI come from?
A much more fundamental question.
If data centers are utilizing local power, will we see a future where countries put export taxes on digital answers provided by AI? Imagine getting a bill not just for the software, but for the coal burned in Virginia to generate the answer.
It sounds dystopian.
It does, but as we've learned today, it's an idea that is already being workshopped by some of the most powerful voices in American politics.
The bill for the AI revolution is coming due. The only question left is who is going to be forced to write the check.
But on that note, we will wrap up this deep dive. Thank you for listening to this exploration of energy, politics, and the hidden costs of your next chat prompt. For more, please subscribe our channel.